Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to the Swing Collective. I got to tell you guys every week, these three guys on the screen or any other combination are my favorite time, the favorite hour of the week. Funny thing, we actually talk more about golf in text than we do sometimes here on the screen. We all love golf, and that's something that I, have always sought out people that love the game as much as I do. But this week we got a lot of interesting topics to talk about, but we always start out with what's going on in our world. I'll tell you this week, literally today, I had my life changed. My golfing life changed in a way that I just didn't think was possible. Byrd actually had put in one of our chats in our live text about GS Pro. And I know everybody else is going to scream in the comments and say, you idiot, you didn't know about GS Pro. I did not. I'd gotten my Foresight, or actually my Bushnell launch monitor, and I've had the FX Pro and the FX 2020, and didn't really buy games, didn't really do a lot of things online. But Byrd, I got to give you credit. I downloaded today. It was $250, less than the cost of one round on all the other courses. And I played my first round today, Cascada, just like you did out in Vegas when we were together about a year ago. Amazing. Amazing. And to think that it's actually people like us out here building these courses. One day you'll have to tell me how that works. But for now, I think I've got my next life. And the fact that Noah and you supported my big ups last week of getting down to single digits, I'm going to be a simulator single digit here a lot sooner than I might be in the real world, but that's okay. But now let's take it around the horn, see how everybody else is doing. Ando, how are you doing this week, man?
Man, love to be here. Love to see you guys. Always friendly faces here on our Thursday night little show we got going. So, great week in my world. It was actually a roller coaster ride. I got to get out there in the sim on Sunday. Living up here in upstate New York. Not really optimal conditions for outdoor golf at the moment, so we're just chomping at the bit to get out. But had my lowest round of my life last Sunday at the Ryder Cup course. Man, it's slipping my mind now, from France there last year. Then I had my league last night, man, and it was the exact opposite. It was probably one of the worst rounds of golf I've played in 10 years, but that's all right. So great week. I'm really excited at some of the things we have to talk about tonight. And Noah, what you got going on, buddy?
Well, still not conducive for outdoor activity where I'm at. Did a driver fitting last week. Got put into a driver. Excited to hit it. The fitting went well. Pretty standard, obviously standard length, standard shaft. But the fitter that I was working with, I ended up getting a ping 430. But the guy that was fitting me was saying that ball speed is everything. So he got me into a little bit heavier of a shaft, and it made my ball speed jump by 4 or 5 miles per hour.
Wow.
Which it really didn't affect distance a whole lot, but he was like, as you're playing and as you're growing into the clubs, it's really going to add distance. And so I've got a full set now, so just any time when the weather breaks, I'll be able to hit the course.
Yeah, you sent us that picture of the clubs, and you had them covered up there. Didn't take the wrapping off like it was, it was like the Masked Singer or something. I was waiting for the big reveal. So
Yeah.
That's always a sweet picture to see when you get it's like Christmas morning when you see that box on your doorstep.
Yeah.
Those
it was funny. We talked about this in the previous episode. I was talking to the guy fitting me about, because right now my current set is driver to 4-iron. I have a 2-iron, but I was like, I'm looking at fairway woods, and he was like, unless you're a 3 handicap, you need to get nothing more than a 5 wood. He was like, play the 5 wood. He's like, maybe throw in a 7 wood. He's like, unless you're a single digit handicap or a scratch golfer, you don't even need to throw a 3 wood in the bag. He's like, you're not going to hit that shot well. So
it's funny because I've been hitting my 3 wood in the simulator about 30 to 40 yards on average longer than my driver. It's killing me right now.
Don't you hate that? What,
Right.
what if you're a prospective wannabe single handicapper like me? I have a 3 wood. It's not going back. I also have the 430, Noah. So difference is I don't think mine's going to have the zhoosh that yours does. But I also went to a stiffer shaft than I normally hit. So I went about as far in the regular domain as you can. I'm going to hit a 5.5 on mine, which is a little bit stiffer than I normally do. I don't have the world's fastest swing, that's for sure, but we'll see what happens. But I'm anxious to get in there. My driver is not performing the best right now, and it's usually a pretty dependable club for me. But in sim world right now, it's not my friend. I'm going to have to play with the weights a little bit. That's the beauty of the 430. You've got those weights in the back. You can certainly customize that a little bit. I'm going to have to kind of go down the rabbit hole a little bit and figure that out, but it's not working out for me right now. But I appreciate B's enthusiasm about GS Pro because I've been cheesing all week, man. Cascada was the first course that I played. There's a little one on there that very few people have heard of called the Georgia Golf Club. You go play the Georgia Golf Club and tell me what it reminds you of, and that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Don't get us in trouble here.
And then,
Don't say it.
and then yesterday, Tobacco Road dropped, and that was a unique pleasure. The number one opening tee shot on number one at Tobacco Road is a feast for the eyes. So, course architect that dropped that on GS Pro, hats off to you, good sir or madam, because you did a hell of a job. So, GS Pro is the gift that keeps on giving. If you don't know about it, go ask somebody, because I may never leave the house again, man. At least until the weather breaks. Listen, but anyway, Ando, we said it at the top of the show, man. A lot is going on in the world of golf. Why don't you lead us through some of the hot topics?
Yeah, man. So exciting week last week. It was first off the Genesis, right? We had the Genesis going on, and again, bittersweet, right, to see it at Torrey Pines. Second time they played there in 3 weeks. We love seeing that tournament out at Riviera. Hopefully, everyone's able to, first and foremost, everything's more than golf, right? And hearts and thoughts and prayers and all that just go out to those folks out there that have, lost loved ones and property and all that stuff. And hopefully we can see those guys out at Riviera next year, and they raised a lot of money to go towards those communities to help them recover from those fires. So, but yeah, it was, interesting. I think we were all kind of bummed out when we got the news early in the week last week, that Tiger wasn't going to be able to make it there. And I mean, also, I think we all kind of understood it, right? At first, when I heard that he said he was still playing, I was kind of shocked. I don't know about all y'all, but I was kind of surprised, that quickly after the passing of Tita, of his mother, who, anyone who's a big fan of the big cat out there knows how close their relationship was. So I think it was, it almost reminded me a little bit, and I think that he pressed the pause button on it. If you recall, when his father passed away, that's when he really jumped into that Navy SEAL training. And I think he tried to distract himself with golf and all that stuff to not think about it. So, I'll let you guys, I'll throw it over to you, Be Smooth, to see what your thoughts are. But I thought it was actually kind of the right thing for him to do, was to take a pause this week.
Yeah, having lost my mother, and number one, anybody that still has their mother, call her, tell her you love her, hug her, do whatever you can do. And you think about that human element, because that's really what we're talking about. I mean, none of us would want to even go to work the next day if something happened like that. And you think about the times where we've watched Tiger, who's been very stoic, very guarded, very kind of in some ways aloof to, with media and with fans in some cases. But you mentioned it about his dad, and certainly the love and respect. The Augusta, when he won and he got to hug his dad and he broke down, and then a couple of years later, I think it was, where his dad had passed and he won and he broke down again. I'm thinking about that energy and that type of emotion toward his mom, who, again, me and my mom were extremely close. So I can't imagine. So number one, it's kind of like, I know we're going to describe a little bit about Torrey Pine's multiple play, but real life transcends or supersedes golf. Golf can be a metaphor for life, obviously, in a lot of ways, but in this case, that was just the right thing.
Absolutely.
Tiger to me he's like a chameleon, and I don't say that in any negative way. There's what he says and what he does and what's it really mean, and I think certainly Ando, we can take this at face value. He was knocked back on his heels when his mom passed away, and I'm gonna play anyway. No, wait a minute, no, I'm not. And it took him a minute just to kind of define his compass and decide what the best thing to do is, and that's totally fine. I agree with you, B. I mean, it put us all back on our heels when it happened to me. I was 26 years old, man, and I wasn't ready for it. So certainly can appreciate that it took him a minute to kind of figure out what the best path forward was. It also, could be that his body's not ready, and it's difficult to put any sort of stock in what we see on TGL versus, what 72, we hope 72 holes of championship golf is going to look like out of Tiger Woods and the wheels that he's got right now. But when I look at him play, even in that stadium, to me, something doesn't look right with his body. Like, he just doesn't look comfortable swinging a golf club. So I almost felt like, could this be not an excuse? I don't mean anything nefarious by it whatsoever. But, did it give him an opportunity to delay his return, to make it closer to, to April? I think it was Ando, maybe in our text string, or I don't think it was on this show, but maybe at Bay Hill or something like that, we see him come out and he's a little more, golf ready. But at this point, I just felt like it was too soon to see him come back, and maybe he wasn't ready, so it gave him an out. And I don't mean for it to sound as negative as I'm making it, because he certainly had every reason in the world to not play, should that have been the reason why he decided not to.
What do you think, Noah?
Anytime growing up watching golf and playing golf, anytime seeing Tiger Woods on the course, he was at his peak when I was starting to play. And, I definitely think that, there was a lot of talk, in this tournament about having Tiger on the course. And I think that there was a little bit of a setback. At least people are kind of, disappointed that he wasn't in it. But, I think just with what he's got in his personal life, this was not the week to come back. I do agree with Byrd that I think that we're going to see, in the next couple of weeks, as we really start getting into the tournaments in Florida and really hit this Florida stretch. The Players realistically is 6 weeks away. I think we're going to see him return at some point at one of these tournaments at Doral or Bay Hill, or definitely at the Players. But more importantly, while Byrd was talking during his response to this, I was interested to see that between the Genesis and the Farmers, them playing the same course about a month apart. I was very interested to see that the winning scores were roughly the same. So it's very interesting to see, that what a month really does, how the course was still tournament ready a month later, and to see that the scores really didn't fluctuate. But
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's a great point. And, the other thing, too, you got to remember they played all 4 rounds here on the South course. In the other event, they played on the North and the South. Right.
Yeah.
So,
but,
it's still, on our topic, though, what we were talking about, because I think that, Byrd, you made a really good point about kind of Tiger wanting to limit his exposure prior to maybe going into some of the majors. And I want to get in our conversation here with the time we have left. to some comments Tiger did make this week, because I thought there were a couple interesting things. One thing he did say that I found really interesting, and I've agreed with you, Byrd, when I watch him walk around that TGL arena at times, it almost looks he looks like the T-2000 or whatever from Terminator. It's very yeah, like it almost looks like he has steel rods all through his body, which he does, right? So that's probably why he looks like that. I found it interesting that he said that he's looking to play more golf this year.
Right.
Which that wasn't a comment that and I think that's a positive sign and positive takeaway for all casual fans like us and all of our viewers and listeners out there. That there's a chance we might see a little bit more of the cat this year, and I think that that's a good thing for golf. Another thing that he talked about, and this topic's picking up steam. We've talked about it a little bit on this show. We've all talked about it individually in conversations, but the live PGA talks are heating up. We know that the week before last, the player representatives were at the White House with Solomon and he who shall not be named, and some of the other players there.
Right.
Today, yeah, and then they were back there today, right? Adam Scott's plane was flying into Dulles last night. I saw the live updates as he was flying through the air, and he was there. But going back to those comments Tiger made, Tiger said over the weekend at Riviera that these things will be done pretty soon, it sounds like. I know we're going to talk about it a little bit later in the show, but interested on the perspective. And also, I think hand in hand with that, and we do gotta give credit where it's due. That live event in Australia this past week, look, it didn't make big news here, but from everything I've read, stuff I've read online, radio shows I've listened to, that thing is massive out there. I mean, that is a massive event. It's almost like the Super Bowl of Australia in terms of the excitement that gets brought there. So, Noah, I'll throw it back to you. We can kind of jump around the horn here a little bit. Don't sue us, ESPN, for me using that term. I know you guys have a show out there called that. But we'll move it around the group here and talk a little bit about what we're thinking on these live talks and comments that Tiger made. I don't want to get too in depth with it because I know we have a little bit more coming later, but I'm just interested to hear your perspectives on these comments.
I'm just surprised that the two tours have been separated this long. When Liv first splashed onto the scene, I thought it was going to be a season, of two different tours, and it's going to bring both to the talking, bring them both to the table, and we were going to have a combined golf league again. I'm honestly shocked that what's it now, 3 seasons, 2 seasons, 3 seasons that we've had 2 different
season,
tours.
right?
Yeah, we're
Third season. I'm surprised that it's went 3 years. I'm sure they're going to combine. I think the PGA is missing a little bit of revenue from the players that exclusively. I mean, all the big names are playing on in major events, but you're not quite having the depth of A roster names and smaller tournaments like the John Deere and these smaller tour stops. So I think that they're going to combine back together. I think that Liv is going to. I think that there's probably going to be some changes to the format of PGA for that to happen. I think they're going to have more team events, more match play, more variety of tournaments. But
and live too. I mean, there'll be some changes to live too. I mean, I think there's got to be some give and take on both sides. Be smooth. What do you think, brother?
Yeah, this one, obviously, I'd like to see the unification in the sense that you get all of the marquee players. When you look at who's on the live rosters, it was a lot of the strongest sizzle people that you'd want to watch every week, and we don't even have to go back through the names. And I think it got alluded to with Noah. This is about revenue. It's about money. Now, obviously, there's a lot of subplotting going on here in the sense that I think about, everything from Greg Norman in the very beginning to Rory McIlroy and the way he got positioned in the very beginning to even Rory a week or so ago with comments that were interpreted a particular way. So we got all that subplot energy. But
But
at the end of
good for Rory, because he can speak his mind now. He's not on the player representative committee. I think we're actually hearing what Rory really feels now, and not what he's been told to say through PR reps and marketing people.
well, because and in my mind anyway, he got a little bit hung out to dry that first go round.
Yeah.
So it was easy to kind of make him not a scapegoat as much as just an unintended villain in the mix. But when you think about the PIF and the kind of money that flows through there, they're losing more money than probably the PGA has. And so I think in some respects, this is about how do you lift it all in a way, and then there's an endless supply of money, and then of course the PIF. And again, this is not a statement about atrocities and the ethics of how money is made and so on and so forth. That isn't the commentary I'm after. But if I've got a never-ending supply of resources and money, and unification brings that resource and money opportunity to the platform, and it brings the players back to where it makes the theater more interesting, I think it's a foregone conclusion that it happens.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Byrd.
Well, one thing I'll throw in, and I've got a little bit more to say about this merger in our next segment, but something else that Tiger was talking about, and it's the topic of playing more. When in my undergrad days, one of the professors in the college in which I majored, my favorite professor, immensely loved in the department, was diagnosed with cancer my junior year, and they did some exploratory surgery and basically opened him up and realized that the cancer had spread throughout his body, inoperable, and he was terminal. And he reacted to the news not by scheduling what classes he was going to teach the next semester, but what classes he was going to teach the next 3 or 4 semesters. Mm-hmm. Meaning that, hey, here's what I'm going to do the next couple of years of my life. He never saw the next semester. He passed away before I graduated. And Dr. E, mad love for you, my man, is instrumental as anybody in shaping me as an undergrad 30 years ago. So when I hear Tiger saying, I'm going to play more golf, man, I hope it's true. And if there was a rabbit's foot somewhere in this office, I'd be rubbing the fire out of that thing to make it true, because I love Tiger Woods out on a golf course and what he means to the PGA. What I fear is that he's willing it to be true because he knows that body has a very limited amount of golf left, because that mind wants to compete. That spirit wants to compete. That body looks like the T2000. So I'm concerned that he might not have the rear end to cash that check, and I pray that that's not the case. But my eyeballs tell me something different. So time will tell. But let's hope we've got a lot of golf ahead in 2025 from the Big Cat.
So a guy we know has a lot of golf in 2025 and played some pretty damn good golf last Sunday, right? It was Ludwig Oberg out there, right? And what a round, I think he was I forget what he was in that last round. I think he was 8 under, maybe.
It was 6 under.
6 under. He was 6 under. Maverick McNeely was 8 under, right? And,
yeah, that's right.
Man, he was on a heater as well. But this guy, young guy, I think this is maybe his second or third PGA Tour win. There's a lot of chatter, is this his time? Does he win a major this year? I don't know. No one knows the answer to that. I will say, I'm really torn on this topic, and I want to hear from you guys out there, because on one hand, you look at him and you watch the swing, you watch the mechanics. I mean, he has one of maybe the most beautiful swings in golf, I think, and it's just a joy to watch him. But yeah, he won this week. I look at the rest of the results this year, and it's not that exciting to me from what I've seen from Oberg. And I think I've heard now this is maybe we're in the third year of really hearing his name and hearing, oh, here he comes. And we saw him break through this week, and that's great. But is this his time? He has 4 events that he's played this year, 2 top 10s, 1 win, but he also has a withdrawal. He was sick, so you can't blame him for that. Came in 42nd, tied for 42nd at the Farmers. Mediocre results at the end of last year, tied for 17th, 19th. He had a second in there. Is this coming together for him now, or are we waiting on him? What's up?
I'll tell you what. I'll throw it to my 2 compatriots here. I'll keep it real short. We talked about this last episode. Every week, here he comes, right? Here's the new guy who's going to take it by storm. And we talked about the fact that there's a lot of talent and a very few amount of tournaments. And, for every Dietrich, there's 20 more just like him. And that's no disrespect to Dietrich, who had a hell of a tournament, a week ago. But, everybody can't be the next big thing. Everybody can't be above average. It's statistically impossible. Oberg, though, feels different to me. When he got picked for the Ryder Cup, we were like, what? Like, is this guy ready for this stage? And it turns out he was.
And if he didn't win the Omega Masters the week before they had to have those picks in, he's probably not picked for that team.
Right. But he did win it,
He did. And he was on fire in that tournament. And
I'm telling you, everything now, he passes the eyeball test for me. And, he started out decent enough, albeit he was ill when he had to withdraw, a few weeks ago. So I'm anxious to hear what Noah and B think. Personally, these next big thing seems to be a dime a dozen these days, and the network is always trying to sell it to us because they want eyeballs to watch week in and week out. but this guy, I think it has some legs. What do you guys think?
Well, I think obviously he's a better player than I am, but
I don't know, debatable.
I don't know, but I think that yes, there's a potential. I'll say the same thing. We had the same conversation after the Pebble Beach tournament, the Pro-Am. Yes, he's been around a while. Yes, he's had some good finishes. He's won a couple tournaments. Winning a couple tournaments does not make you an elite golfer on the PGA Tour. I think that there's potential, but I think this goes back to a further point that, we're seeing more and more talent. When Tiger Woods was winning a lot, he did unthinkable things with a golf ball and shattered records. But I would say that now there are a lot more players that are competing week to week, and there's a lot more people winning. Like, when Jack was winning back in the 70s and 60s and 80s, like the fields weren't quite as deep as they are now. So I think, this is a topic for a different podcast episode, but I think now that, yes, they're going to try to pimp. Is this the next greatest guy that you won one tournament? There's the depth of talent is a lot better. So yes, I think that he's going to be around and going to be a strong European player, but I would pump the brakes on whether he's elite or not in the next best thing.
Well, I think we're all kind of in the same refrain. The weekly coronations are probably a little bit of boy crying wolf, and it just gets a little bit overdone. At least, and I'm with you, Byrd, that there's some legitimacy there, even with the newness. To me, it's about stages and about when you can play and do it with a certain amount of composure and consistency. The Ryder Cup, very specifically, even how he got his way in and then did a really good job in the Ryder Cup. And then, of course, the follow-up in Augusta last year, runner-up. Those stages are hard to perform in. So when you find someone, we always used to say you're the best player who's never won a major, which means you can win in the tour, but you can't win in those 4 that matter the most, and they should. The Players' Championship maybe could be considered the 5th. So when you watch somebody perform on those stages, and that's now 2, and that's 2 doesn't make a lifetime of achievement, there's at least the DNA in there that says, okay, when it's a bigger stage, he's not going to melt and fold under pressure. And he needed that 65 Sunday to win. Yeah. You'd think normally you could kind of, I'll say cruise, but to need a 65 and win, and I think, Byrd, you had said it in something else, the 17th hole for him is really kind of what sealed it. Um, that to me legitimates him being a top tier. But I'm back to you as well, Noah. That doesn't mean he's the next big thing. I think only consistency will do that. And we have been spoiled as you go back to Palmer, Nicholas, and Tiger. You know, Greg Norman fits in there a bit to some degree. Maybe I shouldn't have even said to some degree he fit because he was really good for a long time. So that's a tough one to coronate anybody at this stage.
Yeah, I mean, but uh, like you said, time will tell, and it's not necessarily just guys even folding now. There's so much talent out there that you could still play great golf, and you're just caught on a look at again. Maverick McNeely really could have easily won that thing on Sunday when he went on that stretch where I think he was 6 under. There's 6 holes in the middle of that round, and
look
could
at
have won that
McCarthy.
thing.
You know,
We
McCarthy's one stroke
or
off
McCarthy. I'm sorry. Yeah.
the pregame, pretty much told us, hey, it's his tournament, man. Is this his time? He went out and shot 4 under. I mean, he did everything he could, and wasn't on the first page, or maybe barely on the first page by the time it was all said and done. So
I think we're gonna throw it over to you here, Byrd, in a second. The only other item that we had to talk about was is Scotty improving each week, and I'm gonna toss it over to you for our next segment. The answer is yes. All right.
Scotty obviously heard my big up and slow down last week, which we're going to that segment next. I know. Obviously, he's a big fan of the podcast, and he realized he needed to turn it on. So, only thing I'm going to say is, Scotty, thanks for listening, brother, and congratulations on a good week last week.
Yeah. I think we've had a couple of those. Jordan Spieth, I think's been listening to us too, because he went right back to where he was at the bottom there. But we'll throw it up to you now, man. Let's hear what we got on BUSD.
All right, a little big up and slow down. Listeners probably remember we give out some pretty big takes, and the rest of the team will tell you big up. I agree with you. Slow your roll. Slow down, playa. I don't think you got it right. Let me share mine, and I'll see what my 3 brothers in arms have to say about that. Tiger has said it. We talked a little bit about it. LIV Golf and PGA are coming together. Seems like the time is right. Listen, guys, President Trump is a wheeler dealer. He's a deal maker. We know he has an affinity for LIV Golf because a lot of their events have taken and will take place at Trump properties. We know our president loves a round of golf. He plays often. I'm saying that a PGA-LIV merger will happen this year, signed, sealed, and delivered, to take place beginning the 2026 season.
Gotta big it up. I wasn't there last night. I don't think we talked about this in pre-production and what we were looking at for our topics for this week. And I was going to tell you to slow down today, my brother. But then I woke up today to the news that, as I mentioned earlier, Adam Scott, Tiger Woods flying right up there into Noah's old stomping ground out in D.C. And, there's a meeting in a little White House today. And, again, not going to bring the political aspect into it just because I don't want to lose viewers right now and listeners. But I think having 2 meetings in 2 weeks, you have all the appropriate people there. I was surprised to hear that. I think that Jimmy Dunn may have taken a little bit of a step back out of some of this stuff. I know that he was really integral at the beginning in terms of bringing the sides together. But I'm going to big it up, man. I think you're right, and I think we're going to see, if we don't have LIV and PGA guys playing next year together, we're at least going to have a framework of what that deal is going to be. I think it's just a financial. The figuring out the financial part of it is going to be the tricky part. I personally don't think that you can tell guys they have to give money back. I don't think anyone's going to do that. I think that it gets too clunky to figure out who has to give back what. I mean, should Harold Varner have to give back the same amount of money that John Rahm has to give back for them to come? I think, and Rory alluded to this, I think, I'm in full agreement. We got to say, look, this is a fresh start.
Yeah.
We're just going to pretend like this is year one of the PGA-LIV, whatever you're going to call it, tour, and we're going forward there. But be smooth. What do you think, man?
Well, I jumped the gun earlier, obviously, and gave a full opinion in some respects, but I got to do a big ups there too. That number one, you wouldn't bring that many people together in that manner, and look, I think not everything's a photo op, and I don't want to be somewhat political either, but when you bring those kind of people together, Tiger Woods very specifically, you're not doing that unless you've already, in many ways, mapped something out already. And at that point, it's a matter for us, what does that look like? And then to the great point, Ando, I don't even know, with Rom, what was it, 600 million rumored and probably paid. Harold Varner, who was one of the ones, I have to admit, I rooted and clapped when he said he did it, because this was the only way he'd be able to build a generational wealth model. I mean, so I don't begrudge or fault any of those guys for doing it the way they did it. So whatever the forgiveness amnesty model is, I agree. You almost just have to level set, right. And then bring everybody back together. And I would say, both selfishly and for what, as one of the topics I'll have for my big up, slow down, if golf doesn't do that, it's going to be upended by other ways for us to enjoy content and to enjoy the game of golf. Whether we're all on GS Pro doing that and not watching on Sunday, or whether it's something else. So I'm a big ups there, Byrd. I'm in full agreement there.
Beautiful. No, what you got?
I'm definitely going to do a big up. I think that I think that a merger is going to have to come at some point. I think that it's going to be beneficial for the game. I think that there are aspects of the LIV Tour that could be applied to PGA to make it a little more, because the game's got to evolve. Yes, there's an uptick during COVID, but overall the game's got to evolve, and the PGA Tour's got to evolve to keep the sport going for years, because for years it was a dying sport. But I'm definitely going to agree with you, big up. I think that I think they're definitely going to come together before the end of the year. So
awesome, man. All right,
why not? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Byrd.
Well, I was going to say, I think you're right, and COVID and post COVID, golf is on fire, and be smooth. I know your big up, slow down, is going to really capture kind of part of the reason why it's on fire. So take yours away.
Yeah, my big up, slow down is that within about 2 to 4 years, that golf influencers, mainly YouTube, are actually going to impact and probably influence the way we digest and ingest content and watch golf more than, say, in this very specific case, the PGA Tour. I make, obviously Rick Shields, I think 2.5, almost 3 million followers. Obviously Grant Horvath, who I've mentioned before. Bryson DeChambeau had more viewership in one day with the last thing he did than the LIV Tour probably has seen in the entire season. And then,
the entire existence, probably.
Entire existence. And we all would have, I could maybe, as you give me your big ups or slow down, mention who your top influencer is that you watch. But if you look at my YouTube channel, besides the fuzzy cats and the dogs, that the guy that does the voiceovers on dogs, what's my man's name? Rockstar. He's hilarious, by the way. And YouTube is a guilty pleasure for me late at night and death scrolling, but it's almost all golf influencer content. And I didn't mention even some of the female golfers. And look, we could get into it. I didn't mean to go too far with my setup. But all of it is influencing the way we ingest and digest golf content. And I think in the next 2 to 4 years, it will surpass what we do on the PGA Tour.
Hey, I'll jump in here.
Yeah, thank you, Byrd.
When I thought, 2 weeks in a row, man, when I hear your big up and slow down, all of yours, man, I stop and think about it for a minute, man, because it really get to think about golf, man. What a concept, right? That's a huge big up, man, for all the right reasons. Right now, I believe I'm right in saying this. I read recently that YouTube golf has more eyeballs on it than anything else except the PGA Tour. So, LIV Golf way behind YouTube. Influencers are having an absolute field day And some of the other podcasts talk about why that is, and it's that immediate gratification, and you can edit the videos in such a way where it's all action all the time, and you don't get that lull between shots. I think that's what plagues things like TGL. I mean, you just don't have that many people hitting meaningful shots, and there's a lot of downtime in between the content that you're seeing out of that. YouTube right now, and Grant Horvat is my favorite channel that I'm watching. You look at Bryson, the man has literally reinvented himself.
Reinvented.
He went from someone that had a pretty negative reputation, on the PGA Tour, and then went to LIV and probably made it worse, and now is the people's champ. When he holed out, or didn't exactly hold out from the bunker at U.S. Open at Pinehurst, but you know what I'm talking about. He's used YouTube as a vehicle to stardom, and he's one of my favorite channels. The Bryan brothers are fantastic. One who's a little bit lesser known, but I love him, and Noah actually tuned me into him. Mr. Short Game out there.
Yep.
Love Mr. Short Game.
Yep.
Man, fantastic content there. So I love it because it's always available. Be Smooth. The thing about the PGA Tour, it's not that gratifying to watch it the next day, or middle of the week. You already know who won. You've already seen it, or you should have already seen it if you're a fan. But there's always content from our favorite channels. It's consumable. It fits our schedule. It's on demand. It's always there. There's plenty of it. And we haven't even gotten into the instructional side of it.
Right.
And now with the burgeoning simulator space, there's people bringing content. Even some of us here on this channel bring our simulator content on there. So I'm big up. I think that the sky's the limit, and it's about 90% of what I watch on YouTube.
Yeah. My favorite part of this segment is that we know what the topics are before, but we don't tell anyone where we're leaning, right? So when we're hearing how people feel about the big up, slow down, we're learning about it as the same time as all of our listeners and viewers out there.
Right.
I'll tell you, a lot of people, you may or may not know this about me. That's the fun thing about, people building a base here and listening to us every week, is that you're going to get to know us a little bit more every week. And I consider myself a very cultured man when it comes to music. I have very diversified musical tastes. And there's an R&B singer by the name of Bobby Valentino. He put out a song in 2005. You know what that song was called? It's called Slow Down. And that's what we're doing right here with this topic. All right. That's what I'm saying to this one right now. And I'll tell you why. Look, there are tons of phenomenal guys out there producing amazing golf content, to the point where this market is getting oversaturated. There's probably people out there that are saying, why are these four jerks out here doing a podcast every week? What makes them think they're qualified to talk about golf? Guess what? We're no more qualified than the next person, but we're going for it, guys. So deal with it. All right. That being said, the reason why I'm saying slow down here is because you could take any one of those influencers, anybody that you listen to on your favorite podcast, and go put them out there on a Sunday with Scotty Scheffler or Justin Thomas or Sahith Theegala or any one of these guys that, at the bottom. I mean, Wesley Bryan. Okay, fine. He has his tour card. Those guys, the Bryan brothers, have their cards, so they're out there. These guys aren't beating the best guys in the world on Sunday. So cool. You know what? It's entertainment. It's fun to watch. I understand that it's getting a younger generation of people to get involved in golf, and that's what we want. Maybe I'm just a crotchety old man here. I occasionally might watch some golf content on the internet if I have nothing else going on. I prefer to get my golf on the weekends, and I just eat it up Thursday through Sunday. I'm deeply in tune with the PGA Tour guys and even the LIV guys, and I'm checking to see where they are, and I could give a crap less. There's one thing that I'll say that I would give a shout out to in terms of golf influencing, or where any of my cares would be. It's more on learning about equipment and trying to figure out where I can improve my game. And, I maybe like My Golf Spy, for instance, that's a great website that I think provides a lot of valuable information that helps me make decisions to improve my game. And that's where I'm going to get information that's going to help me. It's not going to be by watching some guy who's a 3 handicap go out and drink 50 beers and try and break 50 or whatever it might be. So that's my piece. No, I'll throw it to you, buddy.
Well, I'm gonna have to say slow way down. Slow down.
My man. There we go.
Slow down. Slow down. Yes. Social media is how people in the new millennium absorb content and watch content. And I myself, on a day off, sitting there watching TV, I'll sit there and watch, Grant play Pinehurst number 10, or I'll watch the Bryan brothers or any other golf influencers. But I just don't see them overtaking the establishment of, hey, whatever golf influencer put in that they got more viewers this week than the PGA Tour got. I definitely think it's, like we've mentioned earlier in the podcast, I definitely think that it's opening up the sport to a younger audience and getting people involved in the sport that would normally not tune into a PGA, turn into a PGA event to watch, or, would get out and play. I think it's definitely opening doors to the sport. However, I don't think that it's ever going to probably overtake, the viewership of, Sunday at the Masters. So.
I got you, Be Smooth. I got you, brother.
That's why you can have him. You guys can be wrong. That's cool. It's fine. I think we got a couple more that we have to jump into before we move on.
Yeah, we do.
We're running out of time.
Yeah. Ando, what's yours?
Man. All right. So this one's what I really brought this one up more because I'm interested to hear your opinions on the topic. So I thought I could kind of sneak it in here to see if it'll influence a purchasing decision for me maybe here in the next few weeks. I've been looking into reading a lot about the lie angle balance putt method, equipment. I know that G Unit, one of the friends of the program here, who couldn't be with us this week, but hopefully we'll see him here next week or in the near future on here. He knows a lot about the technical specs of this. Look, I don't think that I'm that bad of a putter. I think that that might be one of the stronger points of my game. I'll tell you, I've been having a lot of conversations with people that know a lot about golf stuff, and they're like, "Yeah, you just got to do it. You got to buy the lab putter. Get a lab putter. Got to get a lab putter. Lab putters are the best." And look, if Lab wants to send me a putter, I would love to have a lab putter to go out there and prove myself wrong. But what I'm going to say is I turned on the Genesis on Sunday, and one thing that really caught my eye is I'm watching Lucas Glover, and they have him lined up on a 5-footer, right behind the putter, lab putter right there. He brings it back, and he misses it right to the outside, right? And if it's a 5-foot putt, those guys don't miss. I'm not saying it has anything to do with the putter. I just think that if you're a naturally good putter, it's not going to help you very much. It doesn't really matter. It's all a matter of marketing. It's the new buzzword and the new buzz topic in terms of how to become a better golfer. And I'm going to say slow down with the lie angle balance and putting here in terms of it being the thing that's going to save your game, because I think it's just a marketing ploy to sell golf clubs.
I want to disagree with you after that last topic. I want to so bad. But here's the thing about golf, right? If this was a podcast about NASCAR, we are never ever going to go out there and turn a lap faster than the NASCAR drivers. I am never going to beat Steph Curry in a 3-point shootout. Mm-hmm. I'm never going to hit more home runs or a home run farther than Aaron Judge. But if you put us out there to hit a 150-yard approach shot, or you give us a 40-foot putt, once in a while, we will outperform the pros. And that's what makes golf beautiful. They will miss the 5-foot putt that we will make once in a while. And I just don't think it's because of the equipment. You know, they've been making 5-foot putts and missing 5-foot putts long before they had lab putters, you know? So I got to go big up with you, man. I carry a Newport 2. I've had it for several years. I went to a full bag fitting last year, and when they got to a putter, they said, "What do you want to do with that thing?" And I said, "Not a damn thing. Don't touch my putter. I'm not replacing my putter." They were like, "Well, we need to show you what's the latest and greatest." And I agree with you. Hey, lab, call us. If you want us all to go out there and do a trial, we'll be happy to. But until such time, I'm going to stick with my Newport 2, and I'm going to continue to make and miss putts like I always do. So big
Love
up,
it. Be smooth.
Yeah, I'm going to hesitate and give you the big ups as well. Look, as an old Georgia Institute of Technology, Georgia Tech, Ramblin' Wreck from the South dropout, and that's a longer story for another podcast. I get about swing plane, moment of inertia, lie angle, all the things that, and look, like we talk about analysis with our launch monitors, you can get into information overload. But when I think about putting, I think of everything from, Jack Nicklaus, who looks like he was almost bent over. The putter might have only been 20 inches long, whatever it was. But we will all adjust to whatever the putter is in our hand if we practice. So whether it's my dominant eye is my left eye, which I figured that out, doing that whole trick thing, one eye open, one eye closed with a finger in the middle to see which eye dominates. Everybody's going to adjust to whatever it is, whether it's a mallet, a blade, the length of the putter, which, all those things, if you go for a fitting, they tell you it all matters, and it probably does. But when you start putting in the reps, I've got my Scotty Cameron Newport 2 as well, which I just recently got. And with limited adjustment, I've actually been making more 5-foot putts. So equipment sure can make a difference, but at the end of the day, the golfer's tendencies and the golfer's practice is going to determine whether. And look, when you're playing a game of snake, like we alluded to in the pre-broadcast conversation, a 2-foot putt seems like 20 feet.
Yeah, it does.
There's some mental part of golf that I don't think can be overstated. So, but I still have a big ups for you there. I'm in agreement.
So Byrd, I think we got one more topic. So for big up, slow down. We're running out of time. So I don't know if Noah wants to comment here. If he wants to, I think he probably wants to get into his big up, slow down because I want to.
I'll keep it quick. I had no idea what lab putters were. I looked it up. It sounds like a $600 gimmick. So I'm going to leave it at that. Big up. I'm going to agree with you. So my big up, slow down is Tiger Woods will win another PGA event before Jordan Spieth wins another major. I think that after, what was it, the 2015 Masters, I think we will never see Jordan Spieth win another major event. I think that his rise to fame was quick. Yes, he put together a couple really, really solid, like lights out season, but I haven't seen him in the winner's circle since. So I think Tiger Woods will come onto the tour and tough through an event and win an event before Jordan Spieth wins another major.
Somebody.
I'll
go. Somebody.
You got to slow down. Yeah, sorry, no. And here's the thing: I think where we're all torn is that emotionally, we want that to happen.
Yeah.
When you look at the Tour Championship, he's coming up with Rory on 18. And the old Arnold's Army type throng was following him. Everybody wants to have that emotion one more time. No, not gonna happen. Slow down.
No, I was watching over the summer. I think it was on like Sports Center, right? And it was one of the not top 10s. It was this dude, right? He's in this track race, and I mean, he's got the field dusted. I think it was maybe like an 800-meter race. I think it was in London. And this guy gets there. He has like 200 meters left in the race, and then he just stops, and half the field passes him. You know what? And that's what we're doing with this topic. What that guy did in that race, he slowed down. All right, slowed down. In his case, too early. And Noah, you got to slow down with this, man. You're crazy, because you know what? None of them are going to win. Tiger Woods will not win another golf tournament. Jordan Spieth will not win another major. Neither one of those things will happen. We don't have a lot of time. I'm going to keep it short and leave it at that. Byrd, go.
The guys aren't even taking up too much time. So I would say not big up, not slow down, just NA for the reason. Neither one is going to happen. I would love to see Tiger one more time. He's still tied with Sam Snead, right? I would say he's not tied with Sam Snead because some of Sam Snead's, you know, he was like against.
There's like three guys in the field. Yeah.
You know, it was him and the greenskeeper on a Wednesday afternoon, you know, after lunch, but that doesn't count. Sorry, Sam. But, you know, they're still technically tied, right? And I'll leave it at that. I'll get too far down a rabbit hole, whatever that's called. But I'd love to see him get one more, and I would just like to be there for it. It's not going to happen. Congratulations, Jordan Spieth. Third child coming in July, and I mean that. Congratulations, man. What a joy parenthood is. I can tell you that's the height of heights. I just think his life has taken him in a different direction. He is still a good golfer who is earning a great living. But we just spent a lot of time talking about how deep the fields are, and you have such a limited amount of time left. And it's been 10 years.
Yeah.
Neither's going to happen.
It's been 10 years for Rory too, though, and that one might happen. So,
well, that would be the big up and slow down. If Rory's going to win one before Jordan, and I'll go big up all day on that one.
Oh yeah.
I mean, realistically, how many tour championships has he won? 2 in a row, 3 in a row? He's won 7. Yeah, he's won what?
He's won three FedEx Cup.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, that's a major, but you know.
Yeah. For sure. Well, all right, fellas. Noah, I think you wanted to talk about some people you wanted to check in on, man.
Yeah.
And
so,
talk about some welfare.
Yeah. So, you know, kind of our last segment here tonight is just welfare of like, where's Waldo? Have we seen these people or heard from these people, you know, lately? So I'm going to kick off this segment. You know, I've always been a fan of American golf. I think the last 10 to 15 years, we've had a solid core of American golfers.
By the way, this segment's welfare check sponsored by the U.S. government. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah.
Segment.
So, you know, I think we've had a good solid core of American golfers the last 10 to 15 years. I've really been happy with what, you know, America's been putting into the golf community. But, you know, I looked at the board to check in on my players, and Max Homa, I haven't seen him at all this year. You know, 5 events, cut from 3, or withdrew from 1, cut from 2. He's 60th in the world, and I think 120 something in the in the FedEx, you know, points. You know, he was a rising star coming through the ranks, big on social media, big in the Ryder Cup, and just this year, like, can we check and see if he's got a pulse? Like, is he going to be able to finish an event? So that's just kind of my welfare. You know, should somebody check on him to see, like, is he going to be able to make it through the 2025 season?
You know, I feel for the guy. I'll let Byrd. I think I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I feel for him. Just I thought he was going to be in tears when I saw him last week talking about where he is and kind of how he wants to be playing better golf. And you know, the good thing about Max Homa is when you watch him, you know, he's very candid. He's always been a very funny guy, but he's also a very open guy, and he talks about the struggles he's going through. And you're right, man. It's tough to watch.
It's tough because he's so dang likable, you know, and he's one of those. I mean, I will say one of those. There's a lot of guys out there that I like. We'll talk about my guy in just a second. He's in that boat too, but you just hate to see him struggle. And then when he got emotional, I saw that too, Ando, and like, daggone, man, just win, go out there and win. I want you to win. Like, how can I help? You know. Now I'll go out there, you watch me, and then do everything opposite. You'll be great, you know. But it's tough to watch for sure.
It's just guys. There's guys that like you kind of see him sliding, and you're like, haha, screw that guy. Like, good. I'm glad he's going through it. Like, he's a cocky little, you know what? Max Homa is the exact opposite of whoever that person might be.
Right, for sure. All right, man. I'll do mine next. And man, this one hurts because I come to really like this guy watching Full Swing, and that's my man Sahith Theegala. The beauty of all of those shows, Full Swing, Quarterback, Receiver, all of them, is you get to know these guys on a personal level in those stories. I mean, go ask Joel Damon. I think that Joel Damon probably says Full Swing's a blessing and a curse because now he can't go anywhere and find any peace. But we all remember the Theegala episode and the Waste Management Open and wanting to win so badly, and everything his father did for him and the sacrifices his family made to put him in that position and the success that he's been having. My gosh, he's 20th in the world rankings, and what a likable guy. And then so far this year, he is now he started today as I was getting ready for this episode, 70th in the FedEx Cup standings. He is now 76th. He has fell 6 places today, guys. 6 events. His high water mark was actually last week at the Genesis, tied for 17th. He did not have a top 25 in any of the other 5, and 2 of those, three of those, not even in the top 50. So he has definitely lost his mojo. I know we've talked about it on an earlier episode. So just feel for him. He's young. His best golf clearly ahead of him. He's going to get it back, but definitely not the start of the year that our man said. So, welfare check sponsored by the U.S. government, canceled by Doge. Somebody go check on my brother because he is not doing well. Be smooth. Who you got?
Yeah, and I mentioned him a few weeks ago, and it's just a different pick for me, but Will Zalatoris. And I think I just latched on to him when he had that playoff victory a few years ago, and then he had done well. And, of course, I always have a tendency to feel for the folks that have physical ailment. I know he's dealing with back issues, a herniated disc, in which, look, I've had back pain before. So when you think about the physicality of the sport, and I know he's trying to work his way, I think they talked about fitness programs, gaining weight to try to strengthen his core and some of his laterals. And, I don't think this is so much a welfare check to hope that he can somehow get back to form and get back to what I remembered liking about him a couple of years ago. I think it just tells you how tough golf is, number one, even when you're absolutely healthy, even when we talked about Scotty Scheffler before. And hopefully not running into another topic might be a good one for us. We were watching, somebody put it on our text chat, the 59 that Duval shot in the final round some years back. If you remember how he had some, I believe, back challenges, and Tiger had made everybody get more physical, and he became this felt kind of built specimen, but then his golf game kind of changed, and he never got back to form. So I'm watching Will putting on weight and trying to get strong, DeChambeau losing weight, Phil Mickelson. But I'm changing topics and don't mean to. But in Will's case, the welfare check is just, hey, man, I'm feeling you. Because when I wake up and my back needs stretching, I've got this orange whip orb of life that it takes to get my disc to loosen up. Golf's a tough game when you're absolutely healthy, let alone when you're not and you've got back pain. So my welfare check would just be to him more from sentiment because I'd really sort of latched on to him.
Who you got, Ando?
I mean, I'll say I want to see Zalatoris back too because I've seen him. I feel like I've seen him my whole life. I mean, even since he was the caddy in Happy Gilmore, 25 years ago. No, just you got to look that up on the internet sometime, guys. Those 2 dudes look exactly alike. It's hilarious. But what I also took away from you there, Be Smooth, was that we shouldn't worry about being in shape. So I'm going to tell my wife I no longer have to go to the gym. I'm just going to fatten up because my golf is better. Just let it go. Just let it go. I'm done.
The maddest I've made my wife in the last year, and believe me, I've had plenty of material to choose from, is I was ambling around here one day, and she said, you really need to stretch. And I said, stretching is not really my jam. And boy, sure, she got mad at me, man, for that.
Oh, I bet. Who do I got? Closing it out here. This is sorry, I'm gonna pull something up here on the screen. Just
I
gotta get
hope
my
I don't make
notes.
this list.
My notes to go. A guy that I thought that this guy, we kind of talked about it and how there's kind of a new flavor of the month. Somebody's hot and everyone talks about him, kind of disappear. Welfare check on Victor Hovland. I mean, who knows where this guy went? Victor Hovland at one point, was looking like he was on the path to challenge Scotty for the number one golfer in the world.
Yep.
I think he was the third ranked golfer in the OWGR at one point. Now he sits at 11th. He's 98th in FedEx Cup standings. You look at his results this year: 2 missed cuts, a 22nd and a 36th. This isn't a guy that you look at, or you would have thought 2 years ago would be considered one of the top guys in the world. I mean, when he was, you hear those stats now, and there's guys that don't have their tour cards or struggling to keep their cards performing like that. He broke give him a little grace. He broke his toe at the beginning of the year. So that's kind of a known story. Obviously, that can throw your swing off a little bit. I get that, but his struggles were well before that. I mean, he struggled all through the year last year. And then, of course, we've talked about this on the episodes here. On our 4 episodes, I think this has come up twice. Look, guys, we found another one who has a new swing coach. I feel like all of these guys, when we do welfare check, I'm starting to notice a similar theme every week. All of the guys seem to have a new swing coach when things are going bad, so it's their swing coach's fault, And I, in closing, before I send us out here for the night, everyone just keep that in your back pocket here as you're getting out there over the summer. When things start to go bad, just blame your swing coach, and everything will be good. So with that, I'm going to send us off. I think we're moving to a new night. Those who like to watch the Swing Collective live, we're going to be broadcasting to you live on Monday nights, but I believe we're going to skip a week next week because the Mexico Open is this week. Love Mexico. Haven't been there. Would love to get there. In terms of the quality of the field, not a lot to talk about. We thought it was a great time for us to move this thing out a week and bring it to Monday night. So we look forward to seeing everybody in about 11 days.
Well,
have a great night.
Everybody have a good night.
Yep.
Third season of Full Swing drops Tuesday, so.
Ooh, yeah.
Ooh,
So,
can't wait.
that's where I'll be
real
Tuesday night.
news.
Ooh, how did that make it through this whole show without that coming out?
I was waiting for somebody to bring it up.
Man.
Next season of Full Swing drops Tuesday or Thursday. I think it's Tuesday.
Netflix, send the check. We're promoting for you. Send the check.
Or at least let the stock go higher.
Lovely.
All right, y'all. Take care.
Yeah. See you later.